So why does Magna Carta lead us to this next curious destination, the legendary Knights Templar Church in London? Sort of a, why are we here?
The Templar area was vital in the build-up to Magna Carta and Runnymede because it was King John's London headquarters. The Templars basically kept him safe. They kept him alive.
And King John had many advisors back in those 1215 Magna Carta days, including William Marshall, 1st Earl of Pembroke.
He was loyal to the crown in a very consistent way, so that even though he thought that King John was doing a lot of bad things, he was still fundamentally on side.
So why is an advisor to the king buried here in Temple Church? Well, because William Marshall was also a Templar Knight. Surrounded by mystery, secrecy, and legends as the protectors of the Holy Grail, the Lost Ark of the Covenant, alleged Freemason secret society associations, who really were the Knights Templar?
They were both monks and knights, so they had this rather strange vocation
Yes,
to be
strange
soldiers
combination.
as well as men of God.
The Order of the Knights Templar, or the Knights of the Temple of Jerusalem, named in honor of the Temple of Solomon, existed for nearly 2 centuries in the Middle Ages, starting around 1129. During the Crusades, their mission was to regain Jerusalem from the Muslims, and these monks/knights protected Christian pilgrims on the road to the Holy Land. While the Knights Templar began as following the monastic vow of poverty, they amassed huge wealth and land during their conquests. They even developed their own international banking system. All this wealth, plus rumors of secret rituals and initiations, served to heighten the suspicions about the sanctity of the order, and that is when all those legends and conspiracy theories began. What we do know is that the most honored members of the order were buried here at Temple Church. But why here? And why is their church round? In 1185, the Knights Templar consecrated their temple church. The round design that you see here is very significant. It was modeled after the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, where of course it is believed that Jesus was crucified and buried. The idea was that back in medieval times, the Knights Templar would stand right here and feel like they had their own Jerusalem. And that round shape also symbolized the roundness of the earth, with Jerusalem at its center. So to be buried here was clearly a huge honor, as it was about as near to being buried in the Holy Land as they could get. Also, this is where the knights would hold those secret initiation rites. Legend says they would enter from the western door at dawn, stand here in the center, and take their monastic vows of piety and obedience. And there's even more curiosities to be discovered in their effigies. Why are their eyes open, and why do they all look like they're the same age? Their eyes are open because they are poised to rise to their future calling, and they're all portrayed in their early 30s because that's the age that Jesus was at his crucifixion. Alright, now I need to know, why are all their legs crossed? Well, legend says that legs crossed at the ankle means that knight went on 1 crusade, crossed at the knees means 2, and crossed at the thighs means 3. Next, I'm curious about Temple Church's location. Well, the original Knights Templar Church, called Old Temple, was nearby, atop a pagan temple from Londinium times, just like St. Paul's Cathedral. And there's another interesting connection between these 2 iconic London churches. Good old Sir Christopher Wren also happened to work on Temple Church in the 1600s. And today, you might be surprised at what inhabits the monastic compound surrounding Temple Church, a labyrinth of law offices and barristers' chambers. No offense to lawyers, but you don't normally picture lawyers and monks together.
The Templars were suppressed around 1310, and then the King of England wanted to get his hands on it, and there was a little bit of you're right, there's a bit of a spat, a bit of a real estate problem we had.
Yeah. Real estate problem.
We had a bit of a problem here. But eventually, the lawyers of London, who had assembled around this area, were granted all of the land, now called the Temple, on condition only that they maintain the Temple Church.
So, to this day, that's why the center of London's legal system surrounds Temple Church, and why their offices are called Inner Temple and Middle Temple. It's a permanent contract, by the way, to forever maintain the church and its grounds, so law and religion are forever intertwined.
So it was already a center of the great constitutional crisis 800 years ago, and here we are at the center of legal London today. The serendipity that there should be such continuity,
Yes.
It's wonderful.
So much history in one little church. As you exit, look up and you'll see one last little "Why is that there?" Why are there always two knights riding one horse as a symbol of the Knights Templar? Well, as monks, remember, they took a vow of poverty, so they were simply too poor to each have their own horse.